Welcome back to the From the Ground Up podcast. This is a podcast for Dow Smith Company's employees, clients, and friends. Dow Smith Company is a design builder here in kinda sunny Smyrna, Tennessee. And we design and build commercial buildings, medical facilities, and churches. And today our guest is our visionary, the man, the myth, the legend, Dow Smith. And we're going to talk to Dow today about what I've kind of titled here, From a Vision to a Visionary. Okay. And wanted to just start first with, we use what's called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and their definition of what a visionary is. And I just want to read this here.
I need to hear that again myself.
A visionary is a person who has lots of ideas, is a strategic thinker, always sees the big picture, has a pulse on your industry, connects the dots, and researches and develops new products and services. The visionary typically is the founding entrepreneur, operates more on emotion, and has ADD, but not always. This person is great with big relationships, the culture of the organization, and solving big, ugly problems, but not the little ones. Sees things others can't, creates and holds the company vision, and is great at closing big deals. Visionaries are the creators of everything. Sound familiar?
It does. and when I hear that, it makes me think, yeah, okay, I think I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing most of those things. And it makes me reflect on time when I first read that. I go, yes, I feel that's what I need to be doing, and anything else beyond that I don't need to be doing. So it just makes me think, when I first read that, of the affirmation that I was seeking, and still seek today, of what should I be doing and what should I not be doing.
Well, if we go back to the beginning of the company, and anybody who hasn't listened to it, the very first episode of this podcast, which I was not on, but Dow talked about starting the company just with a little red pickup truck, which was your only piece of equipment and your office.
Yep.
But I think you had a vision even back then, and maybe your vision was just you needed a job and you didn't want to work for anybody else, right?
That was reality. Because I was not employable, and I was too dumb to know better. It definitely wasn't one of the wisest decisions that I made. But it's interesting, kind of some new learning that I had. It very well may have been the plan all along. It very much, a plan that I didn't even understand at that time, and to be honest, today still don't fully understand. But I've learned deep within us, there is that knowledge, that intuition of what we should be doing. And that's something I really learned, that there's inside of all of us, there's that intuition of what's the right thing and the wrong thing to be doing.
You can kind of feel it when
you
you're
can feel
moving
it
in the right direction.
You can, and that's some of the things I've learned lately is, man, tap into that. Be listening for that. And just because you don't have the answer today, I don't have the answer today, it's amazing just holding that question in my mind, which happens to all of us, and then later on when some other random act, I go, that's the answer or the solution that I was seeking in recently, or sometimes maybe well in the past as well too.
Now, have you always kind of been an idea guy? Have you always had lots of ideas?
Not necessarily, Taylor. I wouldn't say that because I am practical is one of my things that I value. What's practical, and what is the next step? What's the next step? Strategy is not one of my top strengths, I come to realize, or realized when I took my Gallup Strengths Finders. And when I realized that it really connected. No wonder I struggle and get de-energized. But I do feel really good at, okay, what's the next right step for us to take? And then I've learned, once you take that next step, then start looking for what the next step is thereafter. And that works so much. Fortunately, I have many people around me who are good at strategy. Joey being one, Holly being one. That's it in their top strengths. So where I have a gap in that, I have people around me where they are good at strategy.
I think maybe there's a difference between strategy and discernment, and I think
there's a big difference in that. Yes.
How do you know when, hey, this idea is crazy and this idea is maybe just crazy enough to work?
It goes to that intuition. There's something, and for me, I'm a type 8 in the Enneagram. Type 8s, types 9s, and type 1s, we lead most by our gut, our instincts. There's 3 levels we have: our gut, our heart, and our head. And when we're at our best, all 3 are in alignment. And when one of those 3 is not in alignment, we're just not at our best. So for me, it's always been, does that feel right? And then I've kind of learned as I've gotten older, okay, does that feel right? Does that fit right? Does it make sense as well, too? So there is that part, how you lead in. There's that intuition that we all have, but for me, it's a little bit stronger. Does that feel right or not?
I think you have not just that internal quality, but now you've also got 32, 33 years of experience on your side. I know you and I went on a sales call together one day, and we walked out of there and said, that seems like a pretty cool project. And you said, oh, yeah, it is. We just got to decide whether we want it or not. And it just took me back a minute to go, oh, wow, I hadn't even considered that maybe we would decide we don't want to do this.
Yeah, because we're not a fit for all projects. All projects are not a fit for us. And I've learned the hard way, it's best to, it's one thing just to be hungry, you got nothing to do, but what sucks is when you're hungry and tired, when you're doing a job that you don't enjoy doing. And I've learned it's best just to sit still and not do anything and hope the phone call will come. That is, that fits us. So, we've learned through the years, just do what we're good at. Don't try to do what we're not good at. And it takes care of itself.
I know we have our VTO, which folks can Google that if they want to know more about EOS and all that. But just in broad strokes, do you feel like you have a vision that kind of guides, like in moments like that, this is why this is going to work and this is why it wouldn't?
I do, yes. And that VTO does help so much. It helps me. I think it helps all of us. Because it is a guiding principle or principles of, okay, is this what we need to do now? Is this something we should have done yesterday? Or maybe is this something we should do later? Or is this something we should not do at all? And so I do feel like I have that vision in my head to some degree down into paper, but I also give myself flexibility. It's never perfect, and it quite often changes, and I want to give ourselves and myself space to, hey, sometimes we do need to make maybe a slight adjustment, or sometimes you even got to pivot. We haven't had to pivot, and when I say that, it makes me think we've never really had to pivot. What we've always been, the track that we've been on has worked.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what might be some examples of, well, since you say we haven't really pivoted that much, what are some examples when you start to feel us drifting maybe a little and you go, we don't need to go in that direction?
In the pandemic, March and April of 2020, when we had the pandemic and everything stopped and shut down, and that's when we really had to do a gut check. Okay, what do we need to be? Once we got the answer, we can go back to work, because there's a couple of nights there we didn't know if we were going to be if we should go to work or not. Well, we got the clearance. They declared construction was an essential service, so we can go to work. Do we need to change what we do or how we do it? what we do and provide, we felt, no, we feel good. We just need to wait this out. So for us in our industry, it's like, no, we just need to wait, sit still, wait for the wind to start blowing again. I mean, we were like a ship out and the wind stopped blowing a wind sail. And rather than try to pedal somewhere and wait and look for wind be blowing elsewhere, we said, let's just raise our flag, raise our sail. Eventually the wind will start blowing again. And so that's what we did. It was not fun waiting for the wind to start blowing again. And then once it did start blowing again, there was adjustments that the ship floated a lot different once the wind started blowing.
Yeah. You told me one time, and I can't remember the exact number, so help me out, but I think you said in any 10-year period, you got about 6 good years, two bad years, and 2 great years.
Right, yeah.
And if you look at, COVID, but then if you go back before that, you had the Great Recession. If you go back before that, I'm sure you had other things.
That's very much whole true. In every 10 years, there are 6 good years, there's 2 great years, and there's 2 years that are bad, and one of them will just about put you out of business if it doesn't.
Wow.
And that has held true for us.
That would have been 2020.
That would have been 2020. Yeah. And so, in our 32-year cycle, that has held true.
That's happened about 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you it's I feel like it's easy to have a vision and stick to your guns when things are going great.
Very.
How do you deal with that when they're not?
Well, but I will say this though, when everything is going smooth and everything's going easy, we all tend to relax a little. And I do feel like one of our biggest threats of any organization is complacency. And so when things are going really good and you're busy enough to where the revenue can overcome your mistakes, you're sloppy, and you can't help but get a little sloppy when you're super busy. So you got to be careful on that part, Taylor. When the challenging times come, you're forced then to really evaluate, are we doing what we should be doing? It's the uncomfortable times that you're forced to make plans. So that ideally, if we can make adjustments or plans before they're really needed, if we can predict, if we can see ahead what is coming and anticipate and respond and versus react, it just makes all the difference in the world. And that's where I feel like my role as being visionary is try to see what does lie ahead. And in doing so, I got to be detached, and I don't like that part of it because I feel like, I'll use a sports analogy. It's kind of like I'm watching the game from the press box, and my teammates are down there fighting the battle. We'll use football analogy. They're down there and they're having to match their opponent. They're having to play the game. And sometimes not only do I feel like I'm not on the sideline, but I'm up on the press box. I'm out of view. I'm out of sight. I'm seeing what's happening, but from a distance. And it's very challenging and quite often lonely as well too. And so there's that balance of, okay, when do I need to come out of the press box, be engaged with what's happening, because I do need to do that on occasion and get data, know what reality is, and then go back up to my assigned position.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that. I certainly haven't quite figured that out. There's kind of a rhythm. I know when to be in the press box and when to be on the sidelines. And when there's times when there's, quote, practice, maybe I can get out there and throw a little or hit a little or whatever when it's the right time and not be a distraction.
Well, but, to continue with your analogy, sometimes I think the people in the press box, and athletes would probably disagree with me on this, but people in the press box actually understand the game sometimes better than the people who are playing it, because they can't, they can see. Think about somebody like John Madden, right? Like, he's probably more known for anything than being that guy that's explaining to people, here's what's going on, and seeing the big picture.
Well, but John Madden spent his time in the trenches.
Sure.
And
so have you. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it does. But so I do feel like I'm very aware of what it takes to live and have incredible appreciation for life in the trenches. And that's helped me do what I need to do today, and will be doing for several years. But also, Taylor, playing a role of visionary, this is the first time I've ever been a visionary of a company that's done $42 million in 2023 and is going to do that in 2024. It's like I'm at what lies before me is brand new to me. I can draw upon what's happened in the past, and there's going to be a lot of similarities, but I just foresee there's a lot of changes coming. And I love change, but sometimes that change is uncomfortable and confusing and challenging, and maybe been a little too clear at a Crescent Bank. I just see some strong challenges coming at us, and we just got to lean at that and face it head on without being timid, and shine light upon it. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And I think you, maybe more than anybody I know, and you alluded to it a little bit there, even some of the loneliness that comes with it, but you spend a lot of time in silence and reflection.
I do.
And I guess you'd call meditation, and really trying to think about kind of where you've been, where we are, where we're going. Is that, it feels to me like that's a relatively new thing for you.
It's a very new thing, and I'm growing comfortable in it. Not that I'm totally comfortable in it, because I now work mostly from home, and a lot of that time is just me reflecting on whatever lies before us. I walk around a lot at home. I sit at my desk. I'll go to my chair. I'll walk outside. So I'll walk around a lot. Riggs, my dog, kind of likes it. He and he likes me being home. But I found when I can have these large blocks of time to just reflect and think, I can then respond better to whatever lies before us. And I'm very much enjoying that, to be honest. I really do enjoying that. Part of, call it shame, is like, but am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? I miss my teammates. There's nothing like, sweating and grinding with your teammate right next, and getting mad at whatever lies before you, and getting mad together at the same thing. I do miss that part of the camaraderie, so to say, but I think that's just a necessary part of what I've got to do now, and I love doing it.
Yeah, and for people who may not understand, talk about why that is so important, and how that is currently benefiting us, and it will benefit us.
Boy, there's, in many ways, I'm trying to think what's the right way to articulate that, Taylor. One, I've kind of learned I need to slow down. Joey and I, if anything, our energy is too much on the high side. Fortunately, Trey and Shauna balance that out, and Holly's right there in the middle of that. So from a strategy team, that really helps. And so just learning to, kind of goes back to that analogy. You got to slow down to go smooth, and go smooth to go fast. Yep. That's what it's all about. It's about being, we like to call it being productive, being effective. But when you're just chopping water and running around with like a chicken with its head cut off, kind of feels good temporarily, but does it really give results, long-term sustaining results?
Yeah. Versus now where I feel like you're making very measured decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Can you talk just a little bit about how, even just, I know we've talked before on here about how we got involved with EOS and those kinds of things, but did you feel like visionary was just a natural fit? Was it a thing that you had to go and think about a little bit?
As soon as I read it, I knew that was me. As soon as I read that, I'm reflecting. As soon as I read it, it clicked. It was like two magnets coming together. It clicked.
Do you feel like for maybe the first, from thinking back, we've talked to Joey about his 20 years with the company, like the first 10 years of DSC, it's almost like you were a visionary without an integrator, without you weren't a complete picture of what EOS requires, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the first years, I was visionary, I was integrator, I was operations, a little bit of accounting. I always had a little bit of accounting admin support, and not all of it was too good either, but I had a little bit of help in that. I had to, which all entrepreneurs, that's how 100% of them almost have started. You just got to wear all those hats and sit in all those positions, sit in all those seats. And then as you grow, put other people in those seats that you're not good at. And
what advice would you have for a young entrepreneur who's wearing all those hats right now?
I would advise them to check your pride, check your ego, realize that other people are better at some things than you are, and that's okay. It is okay not to be the smartest person in the room. I've learned I like being in a room where I'm not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, it's very easy for me to not be the smartest person in the room.
Well,
so
I would disagree with that. But I would do that. Another thing that has really set me free so much this past year is me discovering my unique ability. That has set me free in so many ways, and I can now look at what my unique ability is, which is being authentic, and with that I attract and retain great team members, and then I invest in them so they have what they need to do the job so they can discover their purpose. And I look at that every morning, and then I can apply to how does this fit into being a visionary. And it's pretty easy for me to say, for me to be a visionary like that, that's what I need to be focused on. And that has given me incredible freedom and incredible energy since I've done that. This time a year ago, I was tired, and I was very close to burnout had a high degree of confusion. But after going through those things right there, my clarity and understanding of what I should or shouldn't be doing is sky high. With that, my energy has more than matched that as well too. So just understanding what I should and shouldn't be doing has helped me so much.
Yeah, and that really goes back to, you mentioned StrengthsFinder and just the idea that you don't have to be great at everything. I think, whether you're a student in elementary school or you're working at your first job, I feel like oftentimes teachers, bosses, whoever will say, yeah, you did great on these things, but here's the things we need to work on, and they spend the whole time on that. Whereas the thing I love about StrengthsFinders is it really flips it on its head.
It does. It really does.
Those things you're not good at, that's fine. Somebody else can do those.
That's correct.
Let's really lean into the things that you're
That's
great
correct.
at.
Yeah. Focus my energy on what I'm good at. Get strong at what I'm strong at. It's very helpful to be aware of what I'm not good at. Sure. And when those things come up, just, okay, I'm not good at that. And awareness in itself, say, let's not try to put that in my basket. And it either needs to go undone or somebody else does it. and leave it at that. But stuff that I'm good at, being a connector, connecting the dots, things of that sort, arranging things, and then applying that to my visionary seat it works.
Well, along those lines, I got one last question for you. It's a little personal to me kind of question, but the first time I did StrengthsFinder, I think was over 10 years ago. But in StrengthsFinder, they have those categories, 4 different categories that all of your strengths fall into. And at the time, I was really wrapped up into kind of a culture of hustling hard and grinding and all that. And I looked at my strengths, and I didn't have a single one in execution strength.
Okay.
And I was almost like heartbroken, like, oh, I thought I was so good at just getting all this stuff done. And but what I realized was my strengths were more in strategic thinking and in these other kinds of things. So I guess my question to you is, two fellow visionaries who sometimes I think get caught up in having big thoughts and spending a lot of time reflecting, but also can kind of feel like they can't get a lot done unless they have other people around them. What's sort of your thoughts on that and your advice to them?
I struggle with that as well. And my response to that would be just understanding there's things I should do, there's things I should be doing, and there's things that I should not be doing, and that's okay. That's all I got at the moment, Taylor. I feel like there's something else I ought to add to that.
I'll add this. I think we value, not you and I, but just almost culturally, we value that first category more than we almost value someone who doesn't give something a whole lot of thought and just goes off and does it versus somebody who wants to spend that time really thinking and considering their next move before they do it. And even me, it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around that like, oh, no. And what I've seen with you as visionary is we have a great integrator. We have lots of people who are great at execution, from Joey all the way to Tex. We don't need you out. We don't need you to grab a tool bag and head out to a job site. We need you to be thinking,
Yeah. And that's part like I say, because, boy, I do miss putting on a tool belt. I do. I mean, there's nothing like that feel of putting on a tool belt. There's nothing the feel of driving nails. I really miss that feel of pounding a nail and toting a board and being able to cuss unfiltered. No one cares if I cuss. And there's aspects of that. But to be honest, I was a good carpenter's helper. I was not a good carpenter. And that's one thing I look back and reflect is I could really help the carpenters that were around me a lot more productive by putting stuff what they need in front of them. I could foresee what they were going to need after they were going to do the next thing. So I could keep, whether it be sawhorses or extension cords or the material or whatever, I could foresee, okay, they're going to be doing that when they finish that. And
so you've always been thinking about the next move.
Which is you, but as a notice, it's usually just that one step ahead, the one step ahead. And so I've been able to just simply apply that into what I do today. And what do we need next? What do we need to do next? When you're sitting up in the press box, you can just naturally see just from that, okay, here's what lies ahead. Yeah. Here's what's coming next.
Wow. All right. My actual last question. What is coming next for us?
Ooh, wow. Man, there could be, first thing I want to say is DSC training school. and these may not necessarily be next. Here are things that are coming. DSC training school. Make kind of part of that, which is kind of where I'm at my journey in that. And a part of our training school is going to be, people call it soft skills. Right now where I'm at is this thing, and it's a form of, people have heard me talk about EQ or EI. Well, now my journey's kind of taking me on to heart math. And heart math is all about making sure, or it's clear data and exercises in a way to make sure that our heart and our head and our feelings are in sync. We can actually measure, is your heart in tune with your thinking and what you're feeling? And it's called heart math. And it's this clip I put on my ear, and I look at my app, and it tells me what level of coherence that we're at. Wow. So coherence is going to be a word that I'm going to be bringing. Coherence also fits in with resilience. Let's develop our coherence. Let's develop our resilience of what comes at us. So those are a couple of things that will be coming at us.
That is awesome. Wow. Well, we'll just tell people stay tuned until
stay
our
tuned
next
on that. I don't
conversation.
know exactly when that's going to be coming, how we'll be delivering that, but it's coming. Other things that we got before us is we're kind of in a transition. Jobs that we had hoped to got started haven't, but will be starting soon. Joe and I were talking this morning. In a way, it's been somewhat painful, but if all of this had started when it was supposed to, we'd be in a different type of pain and more of a different and more painful pain, and if we had all this going. So we're kind of at a season where we're catching our breath and we're retooling, and we got to find some new momentum, though. We're coming off one rhythm, and we need to go back to another rhythm, and so that's where we're at in that is finding a new rhythm is what we got before us as well. Trying to think if there's anything else, Taylor. There's a lot of other things. Some of them I'm reluctant to say right now on the air. A lot. And but I know this. I am super excited and energized and pumped of what lies before us.
Me too.
We got a lot of great things happening, and I'm really looking forward to what's about to come.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well, sir. Thank you for coming on the podcast today, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Taylor.